Blood had turned the ground to mud, and now sucked at Hadjar's boots, but he pressed forward, driven by a fury fueled by battle. By the evening stars he had held it all at bay for so many years, centuries even, and how exhilarating it was to finally unleash his inner beast, that bloodthirsty and battle-hungry monster. At one point, as he flicked the body of yet another enemy off his blade, Hadjar saw the archers. Their faces showed only fear and nothing else. In a frenzy, they drew their arrows and aimed at the lone figure who had broken away from his squad and was charging them like a harbinger of doom. Bowstrings sang, arrows hissed through the air and rained down around Hadjar. They licked at his legs, leaving searing scratches behind, kissed his shoulders, leaving fiery and bloody marks everywhere. But the general was quicker. His sword managed to deflect the most threatening and accurate projectiles as he swung it artfully to intercept them. Yes, he was no longer a Thernite. Yes, his body possessed only mortal strength, but this mortal had spent nearly 7 centuries immersed in endless battle and training. He was still himself. He was still the greatest living swordsman of the nameless world. And he descended upon the archers in a whirlwind of pain and terror. His sword became a vortex of steel. The first archer barely had time to drop her bow and draw a short saber before Hadjar's blade plunged into her eye socket, ripping through and shattering her skull and ending the life of the false god. Despite being surrounded by nearly a dozen enemies, it wasn't Hadjar who was trembling. They quavered. Hadjar moved among the false gods like an agent of death, his very presence sowing panic. The archers, who had relied on their divine might for too long, were ill-prepared for close combat. Their daggers and sabers were no match for Hadjar's skill. He shamelessly exploited their lack of training and their fear. Blow after blow, bloody swing after bloody swing, the false gods fell to his sword, unable to stop him. They couldn't even slow the mad general down. One archer tried to flee, throwing his weapon aside and stumbling through the mud, but Hadjar was relentless. In just a few strides he caught up to his opponent and took his life with a swift but far from merciful strike. His blade slashed first across the archer's back, and as the foe stumbled and fell, Hadjar sliced open his belly, and the false god, howling in agony, grasped at his entrails with stiff fingers as they spilled out of him. Such was the justice of Hadjar Darkhan. Those who called themselves gods would know the pain of mortals.